What's happening, fam? L.A.R movement still moving. Book is entitled "Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father" at Amazon. Kindle Create Space. Um, as you can tell by the title, um, you know, what happens if we stop moving the goalposts? And the reason I gotta ask that is because a lot of things that go on and have been going on in the YouTube space when it comes to just us as a people, when it comes to our trajectory, when it comes to the men and the women, it has to deal with people constantly moving the goalposts. So what happens if you stop? You know what I'm saying? Aaron, what's happening? What happens if you stop? Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and all that other stuff. How you going? What's happening? So I had to ask this question, like, because where we're at right now as a people, it didn't just happen out of nowhere, right? And people like to have revisionist history. You know what I'm saying? David, what's happening? Phantom, what's happening? I got that fire. I appreciate you. You know, so we didn't just get here out of the blue. And what I see is a lot of revisionist history to the point where, Mega Real, what's good, man? To where people look at the past. What's up, Emmanuel? And they see things in the past, and they talk about them from their present mind state and how society is currently. David, what's up? Eric, what's happening? And the problem with that is now you moving the goalposts because you're saying black people in this decade were one way because of what you said that they were. Black relationships were this in this decade because you said it's like that. And that's not true. Society itself, what space is, what's happening? Society, black society was like this, and these things were happening, but that's not, you're taking things that weren't, um, you're taking things out of context, and you're taking things that weren't the norm and making them the norm because of what you're trying to make your point or your narrative today. And I'm like, okay, so what happens when we stop moving the goalposts? Why don't we just say what it was? Is because if we can, come to a consensus on everything that happened looking back historically, factually, then we can have an honest way to move forward in the present, or the way to operate in the present. Because people even romanticize the 2010s, 2000s, 90s, 80s, you know what I'm saying, 70s. Thanks, Dollar Washer. Happy child support day. You off the chain for that, dog. Oh, man. Hey, thanks, Dollar Washer. But that is hilarious, dog. That is hilarious. You know, Happy Mother's Day. That's what my coworkers call it. So, and what I mean by that is when I hear these current conversations that go on, a lot of this stuff is revisionist history. You know, um, now we're talking about even more black men need to get into STEM. Now, okay, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But we're acting as though guys in the 2010s, 2000s, 90s, 80s were pushed into STEM, in the black community. The vast majority were not, you know, not even to, the vast majority wasn't even told to be doctors or lawyers, and what I mean by that is when it comes to things like education, men weren't most black men that I know, their parents didn't give them a direction to go in or options outside of sports and entertainment. You know what I'm saying? Outside of playing sports and doing music, like a lot of stuff. Eric, you have to check. Tony, what's happening? A lot of brothers, you know, family had wanted them to do things at an early age. Cool, checking. Cool, fam. So what I mean by that is this. We acting like people was in the 80s, 90s, 2000. Their family was like, I want you to go to school to be a doctor. I want you to go to school to be an engineer. I want you to go to school, to be an accountant. You need to go to school to be like we act as though because we moving the goalposts about what was going on. Thanks, Tony. We moving the goalposts about what was going on, and the crazy part about it is, depending on what city or state. Thanks, Tony. Depending on what city or state you were in, and who your nuclear and extended family was, as a black man, people didn't really tell you what you were gonna be good, what you had a propensity. People didn't say you should be an architect, because you're good at this. You should be a doctor because it is. You should be a welder because it is. A lot of times, a lot of black men stumbled into their professions because it wasn't one of those things that was just given out like that. You know what I'm saying? $40 a day. Oh, sad man, what's happening? So at least where I was at, in the places I've been, I wasn't seeing people's families even discussing college with the males in the family. They weren't discussing majors. They were not discussing entrepreneurship or starting a business. These are things that they weren't discussing with the vast majority of the men that I grew up with. They came before me and even coming after. So the thing was like, you need to go out there and fend for yourself. And here's the thing: when you send people out into the world to go out and fend for themselves, and they have no plan or direction of their actions, you can't subsequently years later say, "Oh, you're not doing this, that, and the third." Because if I was you, I would have did this, that, and the third. That's not what you wasn't in those positions. And looking back on it, even my granddad, his education stopped at. So that's pretty much all. My bad. Shout out to Solo TV. His education stopped in grade school. When I was the men in my family, the vast majority went to the military. The first person to graduate college was my older cousin. And he's 10 years older than me, and I believe I was the second. So what does that tell you? You know what I'm saying? And he actually graduated as an engineer. I didn't even know. And here's the crazy part about it is my cousin graduated in engineering, and I didn't even know what an engineer was by the time I went to college. You know what I'm saying? Patrick, what's happening? I've been on for 7 minutes, Patrick. Yeah, well, what's going on? Mike, what's happening? Most of the black men I knew in the community, there was one black man who was a dentist. I can say that. The vast majority of the brothers that I knew who worked, they worked blue collar jobs. Not even truck driving. They were doing things like, working on telephone poles, garbage men, postal workers, police officers, teachers. Not teach coaches more so than teachers. You know what I mean? What else were people doing that I could think of? Not really too many guys owning restaurants. Cynical, what's happening? Heavy hitter, what's up? I ain't tripping on the go, but I'm just setting the pace for this stuff because a lot of times, what happens if we stop moving it? Because, I didn't even see people in the trades because honestly, yeah, thanks, Patrick. Honest living. Guys were veterans. Most veterans who wind up going into a profession after the fact. So now all of a sudden, now you get to 2020, man, it's all good, fam. So yeah, I mean that's the thing, So you have black men doing certain things, and they're like they're not in these rooms, they're not in these spaces. Wow, they're getting pimped. Yeah, I can get that. So when we're looking at now, we need men who are this, that, and the third. Men used to work at factories and plants. Men used to work at car factories, at sugar refineries and and meat houses and stuff like that. Cats used to do stuff like that, depending on what city you was in. Some or in the South, some people worked on oil rigs and this, that, and the third. And the reason I bring it up is because when I think about what we're asking, a guy needs to make a certain amount of money. Bus drivers, I just forgot that. Bus drivers, train conductors, um, people who operate trains, people worked in those fields, and they still work in those fields. And I think about it because what wound up happening, I can't believe the music stopped. What winds up happening is people, for some odd reason, forgot that at the end of the day, a lot of people, especially men was bringing people on jobs that were mostly blue collar jobs. That's what it was. If you wanted to find a job and your uncle, your brother, it was a blue collar job. What's up, Paul? So now, you know, um, waste management, and I ain't talking about waste management. I'm not talking about garbage man. I'm talking about people who have to actually, sewer systems and that type of stuff. That waste. It was that people working at plants that had like radioactive material in it, stuff like that. What's up, John? So when people look around now, like, oh, you know, you need to have a certain amount of education, and brothers should have been in. Brothers were in STEM, but just in blue collar jobs. Because for the most part, you know, I would say most black men were in blue collar jobs in STEM fields. They just weren't the doctors. Sometimes they were the nurses, but not so much. But every now and then you catch an anesthesiologist or something like that. But the people who are bringing up, you know, nah, man, I ain't sipping on no tea though, fam. It's just regular lemonade tea. But you start thinking. I started thinking about it like, because when we talk about money, people need to make a certain amount of money, and I'm like, what city we talking about? Because brothers ain't making enough money. Yeah, I could understand that. But what is when we're thinking about people making money, we what is the median income in your state, in your city? What is the median income in America? And if a brother is making over the median income of Americans in general, he's doing okay. You want them to do better? I absolutely understand that. But we're gonna move the goalposts because the cost of living keeps increasing. So I can say women have a beat on that because women want to be comfortable more so than men. Excuse me. So what winds up happening is, it used to take 50,000, but can it take 75? Now it's 100, right? But you move the goalposts because there is no long-term thinking when it comes to this stuff. And what I mean by, yeah, tax, yeah, appreciate that. So now you want to know these people's tax bracket, but here's the problem with that: when you keep moving the goalposts, you want to know people's tax bracket because of your financial tax bracket. So you want to know his tax bracket, but you don't want him to know your tax bracket. And for one, and then you don't want to know, you want to know his debt to income ratio, and you want to know, but you don't want him to know your debt to income ratio. So it's a problem. So when we come to money, you move in the goalposts. Yeah, I get that, Kaiser. But because America moves the goalposts for black men, I get that too. I'm not just talking about uh, the male female dynamic. That's how America is. You know, you know, America does that blatantly all the time. So this is part of the money issue because it's not necessarily a money issue to me. What it is a lifestyle issue. See, certain people can live a lifestyle, but a lot of people want to live beyond their means. Thanks. You know, right. You know, thank you, fam, because that's the thing. A lot of people want to live beyond their means, and when you live beyond your means, now this is not about necessarily money. It's more so about your wants. If your necessities are met and they're met, because a lot of times I think people have the first world problem of you want to deal with somebody who can meet your needs and exceed your needs to the point that they can meet your wants. So you don't want somebody to meet your needs, you want somebody to meet your wants. So you keep moving the goalposts because they can get you what you need, but you're mad at them because they're not getting you what you want. And if you're not getting yourself what you want, that's a whole other thing. Awaken, what's happening? You know? Yeah. Right. People don't manage it properly. So this is the thing about success. Because success keeps moving. And, you know, there was a time where success was the American dream. You get married, you buy a house, white picket fence, 2 kids, and a dog. So we moved the goalposts on success. You know what I'm saying? So without even thinking about, now success is to be a millionaire. So you went from being married with children and having a nice house and a dog in a nice neighborhood to being a millionaire single. So now we moved the goalposts to the point where you're making it extremely difficult. And why that's a problem is because we forget the cost of living as far as when we look back at your prominent doctors and lawyers and engineers and scientists. Nobody has asked the question, how much did it cost to pay for their education? And it's drastically different than what you asking people in even the 2000s, 2010s, 2020s to pay. You know, um, even thinking about it with President Obama, he was still paying his student loans off, but he went to Harvard. He went to Ivy League school, right? So he was still paying his student loans off even on his presidential campaign. Sorry about that. You know, Grant, what's happening? You know, I get that. I definitely get that. Carl, what's popping, man? So, so now we in this playing this aspect where everything keeps changing. Right. Exactly, man. People are chasing a dragon in life. So you want to get that hit of success, but what happens when you stop? What happens when you stop? Because we're looking at like the society right now where pandemic, every lockdown per se, all of everybody who's essential is working, right? But I said this before, all of these CEOs aren't essential. All of these owners aren't essential. As a matter of fact, these owners of businesses are getting kickbacks while their workers are working. You think about that. You know, these small businesses are getting kickbacks. When they gave Ruth Chris $20 million, you really think the vast majority of their employees are going to catch that money? Or do you think the guys sitting at home are going to catch that money? Because they getting the first, the check cutting to them, right? So it's not going to be doled down to their workers. Uh-oh. What's up, Alexis? So that success thing is interesting because what happens when you stop moving the success goalpost? Because now, since a millionaire success or multi-millionaire success, and what 30 years ago, a house, I'm married with a house, two kids, and a dog was success. What happened to the house? What happened to the kids? See, now you want to have success without a family, but at the same time, a lot of us don't take into consideration that this is why the part of the gender war is an issue, right? Even and even this is why racial tensions are so high because and competition is so high because this is not a competitive country as far as meritocracy on your merit. This is a competitive country as far as shenanigans. It's people to cheat to get ahead, and nobody cares as long as you won, right? Or so-called won. So, because if you cheat and you win, you still won. That should let you know where we are as a country. And this is what I mean by what happens when you stop moving the goalposts. Because if a cheater beats me, if I lose to somebody who cheated, then I won. But not in America. If you lose to somebody who cheated, they won. Now, if you beat the brakes off of somebody who cheated, then your win is like they were doing their best to win anyways. You can't hold them accountable for cheating. You know, yeah, I know, Choo Choo. So you can't hold them accountable for cheating because they just tried to win. Now, if you're the constant winner in these occasions and you start cheating, now all of a sudden it's a problem. Kind of like Barry Bonds. All of a sudden Barry Bonds cheated, but you didn't care that the rest of the baseball commissioner said you can take steroids. That wasn't the problem. Mark McGwire could take steroids, no problem. Sammy Sosa, no problem. Uh, Jose Canseco, no problem. Roger Clemens, no problem. About 100 other players, no problem. Barry Bonds started doing it because he was a top 50 all-time player even before the steroid scandal. Now it's a problem. Now you're going to move the goalpost. See, they could cheat, but you can't. You know. So what happens when you stop moving the goalposts? It's a reset. Nobody wants a reset. And I'm gonna get to standards too, fam. You know, right? A millionaire used to be the king, now a billionaire. So and this is where we at. You know, they. Well, I'm gonna tell you why. Was was cheating is cheating. There's no Tyson Fury on that list. You know, that's look, if you have to create an unfair advantage that's illegal or immoral or or unethical to compete, you're cheating. You know what I'm saying? You're cheating. You know, so you reset the password for your life. Astronaut, my bad. What's happening? CL, what's happening? Wallace, what's going on? You know, because people trying to get over are just when you're trying to get over, that means you ain't good enough. That's the thing. A person who competing is less. That's the thrill of competition. This is why I said when you stop moving the goalposts, you can actually see who's the real deal and who's not. Because what happens is if somebody is really the real deal, you move the goalposts. You know, the go. If you're a millionaire and they became a millionaire, oh, let's move the goalposts to multi-millionaire. But and if you do it, now you're gonna my degree of difficulty is different because I made 100,000, they made 1,000,000. But what I'm saying, if this person made 100,000 the right and they did it honestly, and this person made $1,000,000 cheating, you go say, oh, the person who won $1,000,000 did the right. who got $1 million did the right thing. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Sloan, what's popping? You know, yeah, right. She's only for non-blacks. You know, right. It's crazy. LC, what's happening? Joseph, what's going on? 2020. Yeah, this is another thing. That's part of the standard. When people have like we keep what happens when you stop moving the goalposts is you set a standard. See, a lot of times, a lot of people don't have standards. Truck, what's happening? A lot of times, Southpaw, what's good? A lot of times, people don't have standards, and it's because we keep moving the goalposts. What is the standard? Indigenous, what's popping? See, this is the standard. You need to be this smart. This is the standard. You need to be this to be successful. You know, you said you take that as a W, but that's the thing. We move the goalposts on that. You know what I'm saying? Think about that. Because part of the standard is that we have a uniform standard of, by 18, you can vote and join the military. By 21, you can drink alcohol. This, that, and the third, right? That's a standard, right? You're a child until a certain age. You become an adult at a certain age. The way society treats you, say, as far as actuaries are concerned, it changes with time. So the thing about it is, when I'm talking about standards, I'm talking about when you move. If this person starts in this neighborhood and they become successful from this neighborhood, if you start from a poor neighborhood and you go up to a middle class neighborhood, you're successful. If you started from a middle class neighborhood, you went to an upper class neighborhood, you're successful. But if you went from an upper class neighborhood to a middle class neighborhood, you're unsuccessful. If you went from a middle class neighborhood to poverty, you're unsuccessful. That's the standard. You're supposed to take it up a notch. If you're doing better than your parents and your grandparents, then you're going in the right direction, and your kids should do better than you, right? But we keep moving the goalposts. If you come from a harsh environment and you make it to a nice environment, you win it. Now, if you came from a nice environment and you went to a harsh environment, you're losing. That's just, that's the way it goes. But we keep moving the goalposts, and we want to say, success, the American dream from the underdog story has become one of those things where it's harder to become the underdog and win in America. But at the same time, if you quote unquote at the top of the mountain, John, what's going on? This is what I'm talking about. Like if the goalposts stop moving, you would see less of these problems that we're having. Because what winds up happening when you stop moving the goalposts, the standards change. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just get into talking direct. So I'm sorry because it sounds if you don't get what I'm saying at this point, I ain't direct enough. What happens when you stop moving the goalposts is this: you don't have buyer's remorse. See, a lot of people have buyer's remorse because they wanted this thing at this particular point. So now this is what I want when I'm 20. This is what I want when I'm 20. So by the time I get 25, I'm living with the ramifications of what I wanted at 20. But I got buyer's remorse. But you know what? I'm going to move the goalposts and say it's something else. So now I'm at 25 and I done made a mistake at 20. So I'm not going to make that same mistake. So at 25, I don't want that no more. I want this. This is what I want because I got that. So, I'm going to move the goalposts. It's not my fault because I was young. So now I'm 25. I'm not young no more. I'm going to make this decision. So now you're living with that decision. So now you're 30. Now you're living with the decisions you made from 25. And now you got buyer's remorse. You know what I'm saying? And because you got buyer's remorse on that page, got dug it. Now you have an issue. So now here's problem number 2. So now you're 30. You made a mistake at 20. You made a mistake at 25. Now you're 30. Now you got buyer's remorse. So you're going to move the goalposts again. It was the people. Because at some point, you're not going to take into consideration a very simple thing. Right. Yeah, I get you on that, Awakened Black Man. I get you on that. You know, his efforts, yeah, I get that. But when you make these decisions about people, that's the thing. You know, once you have buyer's remorse, you're the problem. And this is what I mean. Like when you stop moving the goalposts, you stop the buyer's remorse. Because moving the goalposts, you said, I feel you. Thanks, Ghost. What's happening? The moving the goalposts is what's going on. So now, because guess what? I did this. I got buyer's remorse. Now I'm gonna move the goalposts, so I'm not gonna take responsibility for it. So now I'm doing this right now, and not only am I gonna have buyer's remorse, but since I moved the goalposts, because they tell you doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. But if you move the goalposts, it changes your definition of insanity. Because I'm doing the same thing, but I moved the goalposts, so I'm starting fresh today with this. So this, if I did this again, it's insane. But if I move the goalposts, it's something new. So now I got buyer's remorse again, but it's a different buyer's remorse. Yeah, Patrick, there are trade-offs in life. Got no more whatever. You know, so here's where we have a problem. So now you on this kick of 20 to 30, you got buyer's remorse, and it's everybody else's fault. And here's a problem. You got buyer's remorse on this part, but you got lack of wisdom and foresight on this part. So because you keep moving the goalposts, you're not taking the time to get any wisdom out of the situation in your past because you're not learning a lesson from it. You're not learning how to be a better person. You're just moving the goalposts from here to here, and you're going to be the same person and make a different decision and not look at it and not look at the decision thoroughly, not using the foresight. So guess what? You're going to wind up in a bad spot again. And it's got to be the people around you. It's got to be the society around you. And so you move on to this part because what happens when you stop moving the goalposts, not only buyer's remorse, your delusional value of yourself changes. See, because a lot of this stuff, if you keep moving the goalposts, you keep changing your value. So, you know, this is your value here. So I'm gonna move the goalposts here so I feel like I'm at a higher value. And when I realize I'm not at a high value, I'm gonna move the goalposts here, and then I'm gonna be a higher value. And then I'll see somebody whose value is more than mine. I'm gonna move the goalposts here so I can compete. See, people are moving the goalposts to compete in life. You know, and you're moving the goalposts with mediocrity. You know, so if I'm mediocre, I'm gonna move the goalposts to make myself look like I'm extraordinary. I'm doing some mediocre stuff, but I'm gonna make it look extraordinary because I moved the goalposts. It wasn't my degree of difficulty from point A to point B that makes me extraordinary. It's me moving the goalposts from point A to point B that makes me extraordinary, which is stupid. Yeah, exactly. Nothing's a concrete foundation. You know, so now you want to be, you know, now you want to keep it up. But if you stop moving it, you'll actually have a true value of where you at. You know, because you're not supposed to move the goalpost. You're supposed to go to a different arena. See, if you go play the game, you know, you playing football, you never move the goalposts. But what you do is you escalate arenas. You go from the Pop Warner League field with a goalpost to a high school field with a goalpost to a college field, you know, with a goalpost, with a college arena with a goalpost to a professional arena with a goalpost. The stadiums get bigger. If you know the game stays the same, but the stadiums get bigger if you're good at it. And a lot of people aren't good at life, so so you can't go to the next stadium. So now you want to be a big fish in a small pond. So you move the goalpost to be a bigger fish in a small pond, but the other fish in that pond are going out in a different direction. Dead set. What's happening? You know, Michael, man, my bad. I don't think I said what's up, Roger. What's going on? You know, so now we playing this game. Yeah, who reached it. I get that. You know, no, open the stadium. No, if you up the stadium, you up the game. You know, same goalposts, you up the game. What I'm talking about is, people are upping or moving the goalposts with the same competition. When you up the stadium, that's different competition. See, if you're gonna be a big fish, you're gonna be a big fish in an ocean and not a big fish in a small pond. Because see, what happens in life is when you stop moving the goalposts, you see where everybody really at. Because let me say it like this. I remember being in high school and one of the guys was an All-American, but he was 20. His senior year, he was 20. So he isn't. So if a guy is, if he's averaging 20 and 10, and he's an All-American in high school, and he's 20, the guy averaging 15 and 8, who's 17, is really better than him. Because he's not even a senior at that. And this guy is 3 years older than him. So when this guy goes up, he ups his competition, he's going to be with people his age who are far more advanced. So what you choose to do, let me move the goalpost and stay in this little area right here. That way I could be the 20-year-old that's better than all the teenagers. You know what I'm saying? People do that all the time. You know. So, he's a sexist goalpost. So this is where we have a problem. I ain't worried about that chicken. Like I ain't worried about that. You know, no problem, no problem. I got you. But I wasn't responding to you on that one. I just you know. So this part of the value part when you're moving the goalposts. Like the other thing that gets me is, you know, what happens when you start moving the goalposts. You can see how diverse everybody is, because what we're doing is we're moving the goalposts to get the pick of the litter, but we're changing what the pick of the litter is. See, 10 years ago, the pick of the litter was this. 20 years ago, the pick of the litter was this. 30 years ago, the pick of the litter was this. So now you got 30 years of different picks of the litter. 30, 40, maybe 50 years of the picks of the litter, right? Because I was born in 79. So 80, 90, 2000, 2001. So I've been around actually for in 5 different decades. In those 5 different decades, the pick of the litter was 5 different things. And what people don't want to say, going back to the buyer's remorse, is what happens is you pick the pick of the litter from that time. So when you pick a pick of the litter for one era, now you want to move the goalpost because that's not the pick of the litter anymore. So you want a new pick of the litter. But so now you don't want to stick with the one that you chose, but that's the one that you chose. And most people can't live with their decision. You know what I'm saying? Right. I got you on that. Hold up. Yeah, they moved. I get that, John. They moved the goalpost from Black Wall Street was burnt down. Nothing is guaranteed. Right, like you can't compete with let me get the baddest chick. It's gonna change. It's like the flyest dude. It's gonna change. So, what happens when we stop moving the goalposts? You actually see how diverse it is. Because like right now, he needs to have an education. He needs to have a certain height. He needs to make 6 figures. Well, there are guys who are a certain height who have an education, who make 6 figures, and there are guys who are a certain height who don't have the education you're looking for or aren't in the field you're looking for, and they make 6 figures. So what about those guys? There's guys under that height that have an education and make 6 figures, and under that height, they're not educated and make six figures, right? But you're looking for a particular thing. So because you're looking for a particular thing, cool. If you stop moving the goalposts, you would actually see what qualities you actually see the qualities around you. But once you move it to this is the only thing that's real right now, okay, go look for that. This is why I say, like, people flood the market in doing certain things. It's just like any other trend. Like moving the goalposts is trendy. Like, those the little hoverboards people was riding on a couple of years ago. The little things you stand on. I don't even know the names of them completely. But, the little electronic little hoverboards the kids was on just, yeah, they ain't riding them no more. They were the trend. Now you don't see it no more. It's not cool no more. So we do people the same way. When people got on, and the reason why I'm saying this is because what happens when you stop moving the goalposts, you can actually get ahead of the curve instead of behind it. Because most times when you move the goalposts, it's because you're behind the curve now. Because you were caught in this thing and you wanted this thing. And while you were caught in this thing, somebody got ahead of the curve and they was bubbling doing something else. You wasn't really paying them no mind because they're not in the trend. And then the next wave come, and now this person went from the back of the bus to the back of the limo. And now, let's hop on this bandwagon. And now you want to move the goalposts. I need to be with somebody like this. Well, here's the problem. You had the opportunity to be with somebody like this, but you didn't see anything in them when they weren't the trendy thing. When the trend came and now and they became trendy, now you see them. So it's a problem. You know what I'm saying? It's a big problem. Yeah. Just like exactly. Now everybody was buying Beats. They was buying them overpriced. Apple Mac, what's popping? I'm gonna get to that too, David Little, because I got it sitting right here. Because that, and this is the crazy part that I'm, the title of it, seriously. You want one thing going up, and you want another thing when you're going down. And this is what I mean by what happens when you stop moving the goalposts. When you stop moving the goalposts, you can see that. Because when you're young and vibrant, or you're young and you're ascending in life, you want this. This is this is what I want in life. This is my pinnacle. You know what I'm saying? This is the zenith that I want to go to. This is my mountaintop. And then going up that mountaintop, some of the very things you wanted going upward in life, when you make bad decisions, were at your detriment. So now you're going down, and now you want something different going down. And here's the problem with that. And, even when talking to the ladies and stuff like that, that's why guys get on the women about this. When you were young and fine, you wanted a certain type of guy when you were going up, right? But when you got there, now you're going down. Now you want a different type of guy. And the problem with that is this: you want a different type of guy, even to put you back up there, than the guy that you was picking when you were going up there. So the person that you wanted going up cannot sustain you, but a different person when you're going down is the one that can sustain you. So it's a problem. The roaring 20s, So this is where we at with it. You know what I'm saying? It's an interesting thing because Young Jay was popping. He said, "Bam," because and speaking, with the female dynamic of it, the society that we're in, where the ladies are like, they want providers and protectors, and they don't want to go 50-50. You got to think about this society. The society that you don't want now is the society that you've been asking for the last 20, 30, 40 years. So you got to remember, you asked for men can do anything, women can do anything men can do. Uh, Women have just as much, are just as competent as men. Women can, women don't need men to do anything. You got to remember, the ladies were talking that, men don't have to open my door. I can open my own car door. Men, I don't want men to pay for my meals. I can take care of myself. I don't want men paying my bills. I can pay for my bills myself. And now, now guys got accustomed to that. Mothers raise their sons like that. Mothers raise their daughters like, parents raise their sons and daughters like that. So now you got a generation where these guys ain't real men. No, what it is y'all were raised this way and now you don't like it. You know what I'm saying? Your parents raised you to be independent and not depend on a man and not need a man, and the parents raised the boys to say these girls gonna be independent and they're not gonna need you either. So, just so now, and it's insulting to them if you put them in a position, or if they feel like they're in a position where they need you. So now you're getting this 50-50 stuff, right? Oh man, Roger, man, no trip. And it's not. I feel you. I got you, Roger. My bad, but thank you. You know what I'm saying? Because but that's the thing, Apple Mac. They don't lack. They're supposed to lack wisdom. It's the adults that gave this misunderstanding. It's the adults that did that. It's the parents who put this out into the public like it was going to be a problem, you know. And even with the guy, the young brother, CJ King. This is what happens if we stop moving the goalposts. Because basically he's saying, okay, y'all, because here's the thing, using him as an example, everything he wrote in his post was how people would move the goalpost over the years. So now I'm here. He's basically saying, this is where I'm at right here. I'm in a precipice of breaking every goalpost you can move, I didn't met it. I didn't met all your different goalposts. I'm the man. But people can't handle that because now we're going to move the goalposts again on him. You get accustomed to moving the goalposts. How dare he feel that way? Well, he ain't this, but he matched all of these other goalposts that you set up. So now you made a new one for him after it was over because you felt upset and offended. That's crazy, but that's the truth. So this is a problem. Same thing, even with the men. You're not a real man if you're not doing this and you're not in this industry and making this amount of money. Dude, don't move the goalposts now. Now, if I met the goalpost, and there's nothing wrong, if I met your goalpost from 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and then you put another one, and I met it, 20 years ago, I met that goalpost. 15 years ago, I met this goalpost. 10 years ago, I met this goalpost. 5 years ago, I met this goalpost. This year, I met this goalpost. Now you put another one up here. And you got to understand what happens when we stop moving the goalposts, we can actually put the facts out. Because part of moving the goalposts is to make a person compete harder, but a lot of times you get tired of other people's goalposts. If you're moving your own goalposts on yourself and on yourself and your own accomplishments, and you're self-motivated and you're pushing yourself, that's one thing. But if you're meeting your expectations and somebody else comes along and says, well, you ain't did this, so what? I'm not trying to do that. That's not the direction I'm going in. Well, you're not this until you do this. And it's like, well, you never asked that person if they wanted to go that way, though. So now you're going to bludgeon somebody over the head with they didn't meet this goalpost that you moved, even though they weren't moving in that direction anyways. So you think they're going to waste their life and time going in a direction that they weren't initially intending on going anyway. And while I'm saying that, when you stop moving the goalposts, you can actually see what people are doing. You can actually see the accomplishments people have because you marginalize it. Is it a goalpost is going to stay moving? No. The crazy part about it is you got to take into consideration What happens, okay, in a real game, if somebody moves the goalpost, all respect for them is gone. Because, it's one thing to have home field advantage, it's another thing to change the whole game. You know what I'm saying? If it takes 100 yards to score a touchdown, okay, you win 100 yards, they win 100 yards and scored, you win 100 yards and they move the goalpost. Now you got to go 110. You go 110, now they move the goalpost again. Now you got to go 120. You get to 120, now they move the goalpost again. You got to go to 130. And they sitting there, you got a great defense. No, you don't. No, you don't. You're just a sore loser. You know, it doesn't count. It just doesn't count. You know, right? You're not gonna compromise with people who aren't worth it. Listen, right? Wow. Man, heavy hitter. I'm sorry to hear that, but that I can get it. I get it. The old post wall syndrome. So the other thing about that is, see, also what happens when you move the goalpost, and I was thinking, it's written down here about the 50-50 thing. See, now women don't want 50-50. But you push for having 50-50, but now you're getting 50-50, you don't want 50-50. So now you move the goalpost from, I can do it by myself. I can do bad all by myself. I can do good all by myself. I'm just as capable of you. I can contribute just like you. I can pay half of the bills and I can now, okay, it's time to pay. I don't want to do that. A real man will make sure I don't have to do that. Well, here's the problem. You move that goalpost over. Not see, and this is what I mean by stop moving the goalpost. What happens if you stop moving the goalpost? You're gonna see the difference. Because when you keep moving it, the person who keeps moving the goalpost is going to move themselves completely out of the game. And then now you're going to go back. And then you're going to want the game to be here. But here's the problem. You're not respected. Because what happens was every time you move the goalpost on somebody else, that means if you got to go backwards, you failed. See, if you move the goalpost on me because this is success to you, and now you come back and say, okay, well, it should be like this. That means you failed at this. So let me move it again. You failed at that. Now I'm going to go back. I'm comfortable again. I'm going to move it again. I'm going to move it again. Oh, you failed. Oh, let's go back. Let's go back. Well, you can't keep going back. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to be there. When you get back, they don't have to be there for you. That's what they do in an NBA. He said Tom Brady was allowed to move the goalpost. I mean, Bill Belichick cheated. Bill Belichick definitely cheated. He said women never wanted. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. That's the crazy part about it. Like even currently, even with the ladies, if you listen to them, because like I said, I'm 40, right? So I remember the women in my age group when they were in their 20s and their 30s, and now in their 40s, and they sound completely different. The things that they were saying in their 20s, are the complete opposite of what they saying now in their 40s. The things they say in their 30s, they was hedging their bets. See, they was hedging their bets. I'm gonna get a guy like that. I get a guy like that. We get a guy like that. I'm gonna get a guy like that. And now all of it didn't. For the people who are upset, all of it didn't work out. Did you not? Oh, wait a minute. Right, right. Appreciate it, Wayne. Yeah, exactly. Wanna be a baller, shot caller, 20 Israel. Right. So now we playing. But see, there's okay, there are pros and cons to the goalposts being moved. And some but see, that's the thing. That's not okay. Innovation, you know, and here's the thing. Like, think about it. Like, okay, Jenna, what I'm saying is this: innovation has a foundation. You know what I'm saying? Everything has a foundation. Electricity has a foundation. Well, I would say energy has a foundation. Um, Architecture, construction has a foundation. You don't move the goalposts on those things. You get what I'm saying? You don't. Everything has its foundation. Medicine has its foundation. The human body is its foundation. You don't move the goalposts on the human body and think it's going to work properly. You know what I'm saying? You don't move the goalposts and say, you know what? Moving the goalposts is um, like when I say energy, right? Energy has principles. Now I'm gonna move the goalposts if I'm going to change the principles of energy, and then and then when it backfires, go back to the basics to get it right. See, you don't just when they say we're destroying the world, we're overfishing, overpopulating, and this, that, and the third. That's because people are trying to get it all in one swipe. You know what I'm saying? You can't have all these minerals in the world. The reason why you have a lot of this innovation is because countries and people with the mindset of these people in America is because think about it. When it comes to when it comes to resources in general, this is how America works. I'm gonna use it all. Now that I ran out, I'm gonna go steal yours. Now, if you run out, what I'm gonna do? So now you got the whole world like, okay, this is what America's gonna do. They're gonna use all of their stuff. They're gonna come steal ours, and guess what's gonna wind up happening? They're gonna keep moving the goalposts on, you know, morality and this, that, and the third. So now when you see America owing so much money to the world, it's because the world already knew. Okay, I I believe Americans want to keep moving the goalposts, and they're gonna move past the foundation. There's no reason you can't call this country the richest, most powerful nation in human history, but it's in debt to another nation. You're not the richest, most powerful in human history if you owe somebody else money. That's like me telling my bank I'm the richest, most powerful man in this bank, but I owe the bank, you know what I'm saying? I'm the richest, most powerful man in America, but I owe my bank $10 million. Obviously, I'm not, because the bank says Mr. Rich and Powerful, fork it over. You know, they got leverage. You know, so this becomes a problem. You know, this is where we at in society. You know, I get it, Jen. You know, I was using it as a talking point. So don't I'm rocking with you. Don't think I'm not. You know, yeah, either something is or it's not. So this is a problem. To me, it's a problem because everybody keeps moving it. And like when I was talking about the ladies, that's like in the guys like if the guys say I love strippers, and then 10 years later, I want a woman in the streets but a freak in the sheets, and 10 years later, you know, I need a wholesome Christian wife who's going to be very submissive. That's completely, you started 20 years ago wanting strippers. Then you met in the middle and you want a corporate stripper. Now you like, I just want a wife. See, when you move the goalposts, what happens when you keep moving the goalposts, and what I'm saying, what happens if you stop moving the goalposts, you're going to actually figure out something very important, which is, what do you really want? Because if you keep moving the goalposts, you don't know you're going to find what you really need. Because when you keep moving the goalposts, you're moving the goalposts on what you want. But if you keep moving the goalposts for what you want, you never set your behind down and figured out what you need. So now, the people who don't move the goalposts, they know exactly what they need. They know how to stay in their lane. Ricardo, what's up? My bad, fam. And then people wind up looking at other people like, why are you content? Why are you satisfied? Well, because that person knows what they need, and they're not going to be sitting around wasting their time and efforts chasing what they want. Because if you keep chasing the want, and this is what happens with people. People, I want this, I want that, I want. When you mess around, you keep chasing wants, you leave your needs behind. So when you leave your needs behind, don't be mad if somebody else, needs them met. Because now how can you want your needs to be met when you put your needs before your wants? I mean, when you put your wants before your needs. I need safety, I need stability, but I want this and I want this and I want this and I want that more than thank you, Patrick, the essentials. You're gonna figure out that you full of, yeah, I got y'all there, Tony. You know, you know, so when you never satisfied, like what happens when you stop moving the goalposts, you figure out what satisfies you. This, and everything on top of that becomes, extra. It becomes gravy. It's a good thing. But we play this game where, I can fulfill your wants. Now, the irony of it is, what people are looking for in society now is a person who can fulfill their wants. So, and what I mean by that is, all of this moving the goalposts that people have been talking about for years is not for them. They'll keep moving the goalposts because they need a higher person up on the food chain to give them what they want. They're not giving themselves the things that they actually want or need in life. So when you move the goalposts, you're going to actually be responsible for your own happiness. When you stop moving the goalposts, you're responsible for your own happiness. When you stop moving the goalposts, you're responsible for your own successes and failures. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going on. People are irresponsible, and they're looking for somebody to come along and fix their life more than they did, more than their family did, more than their friends did. So when you keep moving the goalposts, you want to set the standard of, and this is the stupid part about it. People want to set the standard sky high for somebody else to come in there into their life, but they didn't even meet their own standard that they set for somebody else. I need a person like this. You ain't even half of that. So how do you need a person like this when you ain't even half of that? The reason is you want this person who's up here to pull you up because you ain't going to do it yourself. You ain't going to put in that work. You're not smart enough. You're not driven enough. You know what I'm saying? You don't want it as bad as you say you want it. You want to find somebody on a level to pick you up and take you to the place that you want to be because you ain't willing to take yourself. Like back in the day when somebody would call you and tell you to take them somewhere, they didn't want to take themselves. If you really need to go that bad, call a cab. Get on the bus. But you're going to rush me to go somewhere that you ain't willing to go, that you don't want to go your doggone self. You need to take me to the party in style. Why don't you take yourself to the party in style? I mean, why don't you get some style so you can take yourself places in style? No, I'm going to just roll with you. No. All that coattail riding is no good. It's no good. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and people forgot about that. LJ, what's happening? Yeah. Changing the, I talked about that earlier. Yeah, appreciate that, LJ. Sean, what's happening? So now we in this thing. You said you came there to what's up, Sean? Yeah, I do agree with that, Jane. Like when people move the goalposts, it's time to say goodbye because the goalpost is, it's all like moving the goalpost on somebody is always putting them on the either defensive or offensive. Because if you move the goalpost and they, bam, I'm at that. Because America does that to black men, and we keep, and like they said, like you said earlier, we keep playing and failing because, to be successful in America, you have to do this. Okay, we did that. Well, really, it's this. Okay, we did that. Well, really, it's this. Okay, we did that. Really, is this. Okay. See, when you keep moving the goalposts, you keep changing the game. And the reason you keep changing the game is because, and even to a degree, why sometimes when people are like, brothers need to compete in the market, I think brothers need to compete too. But I don't think brothers need to compete against uh, white America because we're in this system, and anything we do to compete in this system benefits this system. So we need to do things that benefit us first in this system and not everybody else first in this system. And I think that's what happens when we stop moving the goalposts. I'm gonna stop playing your game. I'm gonna stop playing your game. I'm gonna play my game. Because your game, you gonna keep being a winner because you keep moving the goalposts and you keep changing the rules. So if this is the game right here, this is the game I'm playing. This is the game everybody else know. I'm not gonna add on because once you move the goalposts and I try to meet that, I'm agreeing to play your game, which I don't know the rules to. And as a matter of fact, if I beat you in the rules to your own in your own game with the rules you made up, you're gonna just make up new rules. Which black men say this all the time. Every time a brother becomes successful on something in America, they just change the rules. So it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Is that Kanye 20 means a lot. I hear you on that. You know, you mean to tell me that adults? Ah, oh, you go over that. You go over that, Roger. You know, I'm not anti. What do you mean? I'm pro black man. I'm not anti woman. I mean, it's just I'm just gonna be honest about it. Like a lot of time, like here's the thing, Jen. Like I don't. I'm with a black woman, so do I hate her? You know what I'm saying? No, but I know a lot of women who do things that are not cool. You know what I'm saying? I know of a lot of women who've done things that are not cool and continue to do things that aren't cool. So even with black women and they're moving the goalposts, it doesn't make you a better person. You know what I'm saying? Like there are a lot of sisters who moved the goalposts so far that they can't come back. So you know what I'm saying? What's good, chaos, man? We be playing phone tag. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like moves. You're right. So it's like, come on, like, are you talking about hidden figures? I want to say. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't hate women. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not anti. But the thing about it is, here's the thing, I'm probably going to talk about this on another thing. I think being frank about it, black women in particular have been anti-black men so long that they consider uh, black men's response to be anti-black women. You know, black women been saying for years that black men ain't ish. Black men are dogs. Black men are failures. Black men are losers. Black men are deadbeats. Now black men are like, nah. And this is what I mean by moving the goalposts. Like, what wound up happening was over the years, all the things that black men aren't, black women started running into black men who were exceptional men. And even those men, they moved the goalposts on those men too. So now it looks like, even with sisters, that they're anti functionality, they're anti family. You know what I'm saying? They're anti black son. So guys are looking at it like, whatever, man. I ain't finna rock with you no more. Like, I ain't got the time for it. It just doesn't make sense. And now women are taking that as oh my God, he's dissing black women, he disrespects black women, but guys are looking at it like, man, listen, man, y'all been, on us in a negative way for so long that, in some ways y'all could dish it, but y'all can't take it. In some ways, I guess this is retribution scares you. So it's stupid. It's stupid. You know, but preconceived, yeah, man. That, yeah. So, That's part of the guys. This is what happens when you stop moving the goalposts. The men are getting tired of moving of following the moving the goalposts with women. Same thing with American society. Tired of moving the goalposts. Because just look how stupid it is. Like people, and the crazy part about it is, I was talking to some non-black people a while ago. You know, back when the Black Lives Matter thing first kicked off and the All Lives Matter stuff kicked off, and I was like, what's funny is everything that y'all saying, y'all comfortable with happening to us is gonna happen to y'all eventually. Not at first, but it's gonna happen. And people of other races, they started seeing it more. You know what I'm saying? They blame Trump for it, but it's really not Trump. It's how people have been this whole time. And once you move the goalposts, even as far as human decency and human humanity, and who deserves decency and humanity, and who deserves respect, and who deserves admiration, who deserves a fair shake, that's gonna go out everywhere else. Because if everything's about money and the hustle, okay, we're gonna see. We're gonna see. And now I'm seeing, oh, this is so unfair. That's so unfair. And people say this thing, even with racism. Oh, it's not racist, and what's going to wind up happening. Even, my prediction is, like I said before, this country is going to go broke, which is already broke. Then everybody is, and black people on the top of it, because we're the poorest in one aspect. And we don't have as much liquid money as everybody. We don't actually have as much debt as everybody either. So when the country goes broke and everybody gonna want people to pay up immediately, because even when they sent out this $1,200 to everybody, right? There wasn't predominantly black folks. You know what I'm saying? When these businesses that have been so many staples in the community have in a month's time, I got to file for bankruptcy. You would think these people have been managing their money. Even most major businesses in America haven't been managing their money properly, or they've been losing money because of how things change. And this is because you keep moving the goalposts. You know what I'm saying? There's not too many brands of staples in American society. If you look at it, honestly, McDonald's is even going out of the way, because people don't look at Wendy's and Burger King. And that's McDonald's top competition. Wendy's and Burger King and McDonald's are starting to get overrun. What does that tell you about American society? And that's on the food tip. Tesla is popping up with energy, with charging stations all in suburbs in America. What does that tell you? The gas company is fighting to hold on to its life. And what's going to wind up happening at a certain point, you're going to have to get away from gas, because think about it. As this pandemic went on, gas is like $1 and 30 something cents where I'm at. So what? When everybody goes back to work, it's just going to shoot up to $2.99 again? And people are going to be cool with that? Absolutely not. Because they're going to be like, wait a minute. And ironically, people probably are driving around more because they were looking for food. Ooh, yeah, I can see the dollar falling, and this is even part of the male-female relationships. Because society is falling. Like, a lot of times people think about STEM, and they don't think that the thing about America, right? I know they have two models in real estate. The first model is in real estate, and the second is fast food. But the problem with that is, what happens when you can't afford the real estate no more? See, that's the funny thing about America. You never really own anything in America. Think about that. You can buy a house, and you don't own it, because if you can outright have the papers for the house and own the house. You miss the taxes a couple years, you could lose that house. That house you could have bought that house for $500,000, and you don't pay the taxes 2-3 years in a row, and which may be anywhere from what, 5 to sometimes even $30,000 a year. So in that 3 years, you lose that house. All the money you put into that house, gone. You can't even sell it and get a profit. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with the real estate. When you see all these when you see all of these car dealerships in major cities, all of those cars on a car lot, they got to pay taxes on those cars. This is why you're starting to see more and more these places pop up. Some of them pop up and get bigger and bigger, and then they go out of business because they can't move enough product to do that. And you see car companies keep making more and more cars. It's less and less people buying these cars because think about that. Uber, Lyft, all these ride shares and ride services. Who the hell can afford these cars now? The cars are more and more expensive. Now, F-150 costs just as much as an Escalade or a Range Rover. There's nothing really to differentiate. I saw a Navigator that costs just as much. Think about that. You could buy a Navigator for $90,000. You could buy a Range Rover for $90,000. You can buy a Benz for $30,000, and you can buy a Benz for $300,000. So all of this, everybody's in the market because everybody kept moving the goalposts. So now everybody wants to eat on everybody's table, on everybody's plate. You want to compete on everybody's plate to the point you oversaturate the market now. People can't afford to keep up. People can't afford to keep up with the opulent lifestyle that America produces. Like when I watch entertainment, I see all the rappers with all the chains. I paid $300,000 for this. I paid $100,000 for this. I paid $200,000 for this. So you just telling me you spent over $500,000 on stuff you're not even gonna wear next year, and I'm supposed to feel sorry for you when you go broke? But let them tell it they worth. You ever seen them? I got $2 million worth of jewelry on, and then their net worth, they're worth $15 million. They're worth $30 million, and you're looking at it like you spent a tenth of your worth on jewelry. Are you stupid? You think, yeah, the OnlyFans can't. So it's silly stuff, man. It's just crazy stuff. Let me get my goofy butt out of here real quick because I gotta actually hook up with my girl. So, oh, she flirting with me. I'll call y'all. Catch y'all tomorrow. I'll catch y'all tomorrow because I got some. As O'Shea would say, girl, I got plans for you. So I'm gonna get out of here, man. I've been in an hour anyways. So peace. I gotta hit this button again. There we go. All right.